optimism survey, Joe.
Was there anywhere?
Well, it registered a small gain, actually.
Oh, good.
A small gain.
Good.
But the index, unfortunately, remains at deeply recessionary levels. This is one of those pieces of data you got to watch the level as well. It tells us a lot. The index rose to 87.8, which is still the fourth lowest reading in the 35-year history of the survey. How do I do this time after time with all this bad news? Sorry about this. Job creation plans fell sharply. The biggest decline of the index's 10 components. The only job growth coming from education, healthcare, and government. But there was a little bit of good news. Let's bring in William Dunkelberg, chief economist at the National Federation of Independent Business. Bill, a few components went up here. How much do we care about that? Let's do that. Capital outlays was up. Good time to expand up. Expect a better economy. Reminds me of that, I called it a Jim Morrison song last night, but I guess it's really Richard Farina. I was reminded
I saw
by,
that in the email.
Been down so beep beep long it looks like up to me. Is that what it is? We've just fallen so far? People think the only next step is up here?
Well, that could be the case. Certainly we're down low, but it is true, as you pointed out, that 5 of the 10 index components did improve. Not very much, but, we like going up rather than going down. And the expectations questions are the ones that went up. So maybe that's leading us out and saying, we're going to start looking a little bit better. Most interesting was the net percent of firms or owners expecting the economy to be better 6 months from now. In January, that was like a minus 23%. We're now at a minus 2%. So optimism about the 6 months out economy is improving.
Bill, do me a favor. Let's separate those two aspects of the survey. Tell us what the current level of the index says about GDP, and what about the expectation component say about where it's going?
Well, the current level of the index says GDP ought to be running around minus 5%, minus 6% in the fourth quarter at an annual rate, and looking ahead probably minus 2% in the first quarter. So we're looking at very slow growth. But having expectations move ahead, they have a long lead. It's kind of a 6 months question, and that's very positive. If we see another 1 or 2 of those in January, we'll be happy.
Bill, I want to change gears because I know you sit on the board of a bank, and you've been sending me emails about what's going on at the bank. And I don't know if you even want to talk about this because I didn't ask you about it earlier. You just sent me these sort of personas. But I am very interested in this idea that there are things the government is doing right now that are making things harder for the banks to lend. Could you go through some of those for me?
Well, sure. It's a small bank, so it's not very big, Liberty Bell Bank in New Jersey. And, we had a small profit in the third quarter, but it would have been a huge profit if we hadn't had to put a whole bunch of extra money aside in loan loss reserves, even though in 5 years we really haven't had a loan loss. We also, of course, had to pay a lot more in FDIC insurance compared to last year. And then the big killer, of course, has been a 425 basis point reduction in the interest revenue on 30% of the loan portfolio because the Fed has cut rates so dramatically to help out the Wall Street firms. So we could have had a great quarter. Instead, we barely made it into the positive territory.
They call it in economics pro-cyclicality, but the guys on the street would call it making a bad situation worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean,
it hasn't helped us out, that's for sure.
We got to wrap it up, Bill. Thanks very much. Bill Dunkelberg from the NFIB and a director on a small bank, and he sends me stuff about how the government is helping or hurting. And in this case, just higher insurance premiums on FDIC insurance is going to hurt some of these banks at just the wrong time.